This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we started talking about something called change request yesterday. Let's try to understand in a different way today. Now, whatever the change request process that we are understanding now, it is in a complete generic way. When I say this is in a generic way, with this understanding, with this clarity, you will be able to work in any project for any client, for any company, for any change request. I'm not specifically picking any ticketing tool or any specific one. I am going to explain you in a generic way with which you will be able to handle any change request anywhere. Before you talk about change request, point number one, you need to understand something called projects. Point number one, you need to understand something called projects. And we are all aware that we have certain type of project. First one is your implementation project. Second one is your rollout project. Third one is your support project. And then you can also take migration project. Out of this project, your change request is applicable only for the support project. You are going to work on change request only when you are in support project. When you are in implementation project, when you are in rollout project, or when you are in migration project, you are not going to have something called change request. Change request is applicable only if you are working in a project called support project or production support project, AMC project. Now, when you are working in any project, what you are going to do as a consultant? Your client is already using SAP, project has already gone live. They are using SAP system for their day-to-day usage, and any problems that they get in their project, they are going to raise a request to you. When they face any problem in their existing system on their day-to-day business operating process, they will be sending a request to you. This request can be sent in multiple ways. For example, let's say client or user, whoever faces any problem in their day-to-day business process, they will notify or inform SAP FICO consultant. They will notify or inform SAP FICO consultant. I'm not writing SAP team because we are all SAP FICO consultant. It is better we understand specifically with respect to SAP FICO so that it is more easier for us to get connected to what we are talking about. They will be notifying or they will be informing us as a SAP FICO consultant. They may be informing us, they may be notifying you in multiple ways. They may be informing you through email, or there may be any incident in the ticketing tool, or they may inform through Teams chat, or they might also give you a call. Either ways, you cannot say that I will work only when you send an email, I will work only when you raise a ticket, I will work only if you send me in the chat, or I will work only when you raise or when you inform in the call. You cannot say it. As a consultant, if you are working for a particular client, depending on the urgency, depending on the need, depending on the requirement, they may be reaching out to you in any of the communication method. Once you are notified with the incident or once you are notified with the problem, you will understand based on the problem, because for the client or for the user, they do not know whether this is the change request or any other part that they are not aware of. According to them, that we are facing a problem, we are informing or we are notifying the SAP FICO consultant. They will be providing us a solution. Now, when you get the information, when you get the notification, or when you have been informed with a particular problem, point number one, what we need to look at is look at the problem first. Point number one, look at the problem. Now, based on the request provided by the user or client, based on the request provided by the user or client, FICO consultant to identify one of the below. Because whatever the information that you've got from your client or from your user, based on the information, you need to identify one of the below point. Point number 1, it can be an incident. Point number 2, it can be a change request. Point number 3, it can be a service request. Point number 1, it can be an incident. Point number 2, it can be a change request. Point number 3, it can be a service request, because we cannot expect end user or client to know in detail, clear cut about what category it falls under. They may be treating a change request as a incident as a service request as a change request, because they are not the right person to decide under which category it falls. As a consultant, based on the requirement, based on the request, you need to treat it and proceed further with it and under the appropriate category. For example, what do you mean by an incident? What do you mean by a change request? What do you mean by a service request? First, as a FICO consultant, we should have a clarity. Now, the first one, incident, we will talk about it later. Second one, change request. The name itself is telling you are changing something. Now, anything that you are changing is requiring a configuration. Whatever you are talking about change request, whenever you talk about any change is all about your configuration. Change is all about your configuration. Whenever you have any configuration, you know that you have something called, whenever you have configuration, you have something called TR. TR is nothing but transport request. And whenever you have a TR number, you need to make sure certain documentation is required for this transport request to be moved forward once your project is live. During your project, it is a different story. After your project has gone live, meaning when you are in a support project, the way that you do any configuration will have to undergo certain sequence. In the same sequence, you need to follow, meaning the moment you create a TR, until you deploy the TR, or until you move the solution, until you move your configuration to the production system, we need to follow certain guidelines, rules, regulations, steps, procedure. Whatever it is, everything is decided, everything is defined by your particular company, your client, your project. This is not fixed everywhere. This is dynamic, this is flexible, depending on the company, depending on the project, depending on the client. These things will differ. As a consultant, make sure wherever you are working, you are in a position to adopt and then apply your consulting skill there to move forward. You cannot say that I do not know, I did not work on this tool and all. You are not supposed to say, because only the tool is different. The way that you proceed forward with any change request is one and the same. Keep in your mind, whenever you are talking about change request, you are talking about configuration. Whenever you are talking about configuration, you are talking about TR. TR is nothing but transport request. In the transport request, there are two type of transport request. One is customizing request, other one is workbench request. So it can be a customizing TR or it can be a workbench TR. Either ways, it is called as a transport request. Now, whenever you are doing any changes in the system configuration, that is straightforward represented as a change request. Okay, on the other side, incident, we will keep it aside. Sometimes your client says that, their password is locked. They say that their password is locked, or they say that the new access is required, or they would say new user ID is required, or sometimes you would say something called firefighter ID is required. These kind of things are basically represented as service request. You should have a clear understanding between service request, change request, and then incident management. When you're talking about service request, nothing to do with your SAP FICO straightforward. Your service request has got nothing to do with your FICO straightforward. These are basically basis activities. When I say basis activities, For example, your user is telling that my password is locked, I am not able to log into the system. He will not create an incident for it, he will create a service request for it. Then this service request, wherever the password is locked, basis consultant will reset the password, he will communicate it to the user, or you will act as a bridge between your user and basis consultant. You will inform basis consultant, please reset the password for so and so user ID. Basis consultant will tell that password is reset and initial password is communicated with the user. Whenever the basis consultant will reset the password, password will not be given to you. Password will be given only to the user whose user ID it is. If it is my user ID, basis consultant will send the initial password only to me, because it is not correct. It is not as per the policy of any organization to send a password keeping others in CC. It has to be strictly sent to the respective user only. And here also people might ask you, if your user is asking for a password reset, how would you proceed with it? Remember, anything related to password reset, it is not your activity. It is the purely basis consultant activity initiated with the help of a service request. And the other one is new access is required. For example, there is a user who wants to access a particular transaction, but he is not having authorization to it. System is giving a message, you are not authorized to use so and so transaction code. What user will say? He will take this screenshot and he will send an email, or he will create a request. Now this one, whatever you receive is again the service request, because nothing to do from your side. This is something, a new rule or the authorization to be provided by the basis consultant. Again, this will be treated as a service request wherein your roles and authorizations related. Next one, new user ID is required. For example, there is a new employee joined in your organization, maybe in the end user side. What your client will tell, they say that there is a new joinee in our company or in our team. For this new joinee, for this new employee, please create a user ID. And they will say that Mr. A is the new user. Please create a user ID to Mr. A, exactly the replica of Mr. C. Whatever the user ID Mr. C has, a copy of Mr. C will be created for Mr. A along with the same roles and authorizations whatever C has. Now this is again a service request. For example, as a FICO consultant, sometimes we will also be raising a service request. Why as a consultant we will raise a service request? Because there are certain situations, there are certain cases where you need to work directly in the production system. Certain activities we have to perform, certain activities we need to carry out directly in the production system. Whenever you do these kind of activities directly in the production system, always remember with a consultant user ID. For example, you are a FICO consultant, I am a FICO consultant. You have your own user ID, I have my own user ID. But in production system, any consultant will have only display authorization. When I say display authorization, you can see the report, you can display the document, you can see the master data, but with your user ID, you will not be able to create anything. You will not be able to change anything. Even if you have the authorization to change or create, you are not supposed to create with your user ID, as it is not allowed, as it is not recommended. Okay, because when your system auditing is happening, when your system audit goes on, they will verify if any activity or if any master, if any transaction is created by consultant. If yes, there should be a valid justification why a consultant created the data in the production system, whereas it is not supposed to be created. Now to avoid this point, whenever you have any request from the user, either to create a huge master data, let's say there may be a huge master which your client says manually we cannot create it, please create it from backend from your side. Or sometimes they say that we've made some corrections or we made some transactions which went wrong, we need to modify, we need to correct, let's say some 2000 record, 5000 record, 500 record, 200 record. Manually we cannot sit and change it, as it will take a lot of time. They say that can you please do it from your end in the backend. Likewise, you may be receiving lot of requests from the user wherein data has to be either created or amended in the production system. This is one point. Second point, there may be some problems in the production system. When I say there may be some certain problem, let's say there is a report, there is a transaction, there is some activity, either master or transaction or report, which your user is carrying out in the production system. It is not working as expected. Either report is giving wrong number, or master is not getting created, or transaction is not getting created. So the moment you see it, what you will do it, immediately we will try to replicate the same scenario in the quality system. Whatever user is trying to create in the production system, we will try to replicate it in the quality system with the same parameter. Surprisingly, what will happen in the quality system, everything will work fine without any issues. Same thing when you do it in production, you will find some problem. Whereas similar activity, similar thing, when you try to replicate it in quality system or in the development system, it will work without any problem. So here we will not be able to understand why it is not working in production, how come it is working fine in quality system. In this situation, you have to debug the functionality in the production system directly. In order to debug directly in the production system, you need to get the firefighter access again. You need to again get the firefighter access. In short, whatever the activity you perform as a consultant in the production system requires a firefighter ID. You will be requesting firefighter ID with the help of a service request. Now, anything which is not related to password, new user ID, rules, authorization, firefighter ID, majoritarily these kind of things are represented as incident. Exclude your configuration, exclude this point of thing. Apart from this, whatever you represent is called as an incident. Basically, these are your user understanding issues, and then system errors, maybe user training, or kind of your support, any kind of support. This category of activities we will be representing as incidents. Now, when you're talking about incident, it may be user understanding issues. When I say user understanding issue, for example, I am an end user working in maybe GL, AP, AR, asset, cash, bank, tax, any module. I may be working under any submodule as an end user. I am trying to post a document, but it is giving some error when I am trying to record a document. Now, I do not know why I am getting the error. I may be giving wrong information somewhere. Maybe I am not supposed to select X account, I am selecting Y account. Or I am not supposed to fill any particular field, but I am filling that particular field. Because that is my understanding related problem. I do not know how the entry is to be posted. Usually what will happen, tomorrow my colleague is on leave, I may be doing his work on his behalf. I may not have thorough understanding, I may be only having basic knowledge of it. My project, my team lead or my senior, my manager would have told me, please post this entry because this is very important. Mr. A is not available, you do it. Okay, I thought that, okay, let me do it, let me post the entry. I log into the system, I try to post the entry, but I'm stuck in between because I'm not able to understand what to do. When I'm not able to understand what to do, what I'm going to do, the only point that strikes my mind is, okay, let me reach out to the SAP FICO consultant. Now, when I'm reaching out to SAP FICO consultant is not going to support unless you raise a ticket. In any project, it is quite common. If you're working as a support consultant, your work is measured in terms of tickets, in terms of incidents that you're handling. Okay, you need to track to whom you have given support, either in a ticketing tool or in the email or in an Excel sheet. There should be a track. Okay, today Ajay called me asking for a particular document posting related error. Ajay may be calling you or Ajay may not be calling you. Ajay may send you an email or Ajay may create a request in the ticketing tool, whatever you are using. Now, if I give you a call, when I give you a call, I may be at the document screen posting. Let's say I am trying to post a document, I am trying to simulate or I am trying to proceed further. When I press enter, I am getting the error message. Let's say the entry contains around 45 line items. I am posting the entry contains around 45 line items. After entering the 40 line items, I am getting the error message. Now I do not know what to do. I have put sufficient effort or I have put enough effort, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes to input the data until this 40 line item. After 40 line items, if I'm getting the error, if I'm facing the problem, I will not be able to close it and then redo it again, because definitely this will take a lot of time. So what I will do, I will pick the call. I will immediately call Mr. Ajay, who is the SAP FICO consultant. I say that, dear consultant, this is what I am doing. I am facing an error. This is very urgent. Please support me. Now what you need to do, considering the situation, you need to understand. First, talk to the client, talk to the user who is giving you a call, understand what is their problem. Ask them, yes, what do you want? They will say that I am trying to post on JV, or I'm trying to create something, but this is what is happening. I am getting stuck here. Okay, they would have called you on mobile phone. Maybe you're away from your seat. Maybe they do not know if you're in your desk or not. They would have called you on your mobile phone. What you need to do, ask them to share their screen. You need to ask them to share their screen, because as we all aware, if you are idle on the SAP system for more than certain specific time, system will automatically get logged off. Everybody is aware that if you are idle on the system for some time, your session will get automatically closed. What you will do, you will ask your user to share the screen. User will say that, okay, let me share the screen. They will be sharing the screen maybe on the Teams, Skype, any communicator that you are using. They will be sharing the screen. When they share the screen, look at the screen, because they may not be able to explain you clearly, because this is not the activity which is their daily routine. This is the activity which they are performing on somebody else's behalf. So what they will do, they will say that, okay, let me share the screen. When they share the screen, when you are looking at the screen, you will have to understand. They will tell that this is the entry that I am passing. There are 45 line items. I posted 40 line items. After 40 line items, I am not able to move forward. By looking at that entry, when you try to understand, okay, this is the reason, this could be the situation, you need to give the guidance, you need to assist them. Okay, double click on this line item, try to put this entry, try to change this, put this. You have to guide them without telling them to go back. You need to guide them without telling them to go back. If you tell them to go back, then all the 40 line items, whatever they have entered, will disappear. That everybody is aware. If you cancel it, if you go back, all the line items will disappear. Meaning, you should understand at what stage your client or your user is calling you, what they're currently doing, and what you are supposed to guide, what you are supposed to tell them. You have to be very careful when you're talking to the client, to your user, especially when you're on the screen sharing, because the moment you ask them to see this, see this cursor and all, whatever you ask them to see, they will go and click there. Your intention is to see, but they will go and click there. Right? You have to be very careful. And if you guide them, for example, if you are able to understand what is the problem, you have to guide them. You need to make them understand this is the problem, input this information or remove this information, it will get through. Assuming whatever the inputs that you have given, with the help of your input, entry is posted successfully. Now they say that, okay, thank you so much. Now at the end, you need to ask them, please send an email. If you do not have any ticketing tool, if you have a specific ticketing tool, ask them to please raise an incident or please log an incident for this. Now after that, they are going to log an incident stating that, dear Mr. Consultant, I am facing this problem, kindly assist. Now since you have already resolved the problem here, what you are going to do, you are going to respond stating that, dear XYZ user, as per our telephonic conversation or as discussed over the call, I hope the issue has been resolved, kindly confirm. They say that, yes, thank you for your support, issue has been closed. This is how you will record the data, either in the email or in any specific ticketing tool, you will close the ticket. Okay, never try to focus on what is the ticketing tool, what are the steps, what are the statuses, which nobody is going to focus on, because in every client, in every company, there may be different ticketing tool. If you are working on X ticketing tool, when you go to another company, there may be Y ticketing tool. You would have worked on XYZ ticketing tool. If you go to another company, there may be no ticketing tool, or there may be some other ticketing tool. Meaning, end of the day, irrespective of the tool that you are using, the way that you are going to work on the incident, on the service request, on the change request is one and the same. Is one and the same. You need to have a generic understanding, generic idea about it. For example, this is all about your understanding related problem. Sometimes there may be system error. When we say system error, user is trying to create a document. Assuming user is trying to create a document, or user is trying to create a master, or user is trying to generate a report. Now, when the user is trying to generate a report, post a document, create a master, they may be receiving some errors. We are all aware that errors may come from different reasons. We are all aware that error may come from different reason. Based on the error, you need to understand what is the reason for this error. When I say what is the reason for this error, make sure look at the error clearly, and your user may be giving you the error message. At the bottom, they may say that you are not authorized, or it may say that this entry does not exist in XYZ table, or it may say that this is not allowed. Any error message it will come. When you get that error message, either in the email or on the chat or on the incident, what you need to do first to see if you are able to understand anything with the help of error message. Certain things you will be able to understand by looking at the error message. Certain things you will not be able to understand even after looking at the error message. If you are able to understand by looking at the error message, it is fine. If not, what you need to do, you need to ask your user to double click on the error message. When you double click on the error message, it will give you a long text. Another pop-up will come wherein you will get to know the error message number, description, diagnosis. Some content will come which is SAP predefined. You need to ask your user, ask your client to give that a screenshot also. What they will do, they will reprocess it. When they reprocess it, they will get the same message. They will double click on the error message. They will take that screenshot. They will give that screenshot to you. When you get that screenshot, by looking at the error message or by reading that content provided by the error, you will be able to understand something. If you are able to figure out why error is coming, what needs to be done, it is fine. You can solve the problem. Otherwise, you need to see why, what could be the other reason. Point number one, you need to understand here is, for multiple reasons, SAP will provide a same error. There may be 10 different reasons. For these 10 different reasons, SAP will not give you 10 different messages. For 10 different reasons, there may be single error message with the same text, same content, meaning this error message will come in these failed cases. This error message will come in these failed cases, or if these conditions are not satisfied, this error message will come. That is how it is programmed in the backend. So you cannot straight away assume that if this is the error message, this is the solution. You are not supposed to assume, you are not supposed to come to any conclusion that way. Always make sure small errors, silly mistakes only will create complicated problems in any project. If it is complicated, automatically you will be able to resolve it, because straight away it will tell either config is missing, this is not correct, that is not correct, something you will have clear understanding. Minute simple mistakes, silly mistakes, you will not be able to identify even if you look at the screen 100 times, because we are ignoring those minute point. At that minute level only there is a solution. Most of the times any problem which you are not able to resolve immediately will be a basic fundamental silly problem. If it is complicated problem, it will not take much time. Simple problem, silly problem only will take a long time in any project. Meaning, if you are paying attention on the basic fundamentals, what entry they are posting, what is their scenario, how they are posting, which T code they are using, what master they are using, if you are able to look at each parameter, you will find the solution then and there only. But what we will do, we will ignore everything, we will go to the end, we will stick to the error message, we will try to solve it by understanding or by Googling. So Google will never understand what is your scenario, because that error message will appear for multiple reasons. This point, when you understand, you will stop Googling immediately. Because the point is, we are not aware that error message is common. The moment you know that error message is common, you will not relate it directly to your scenario, because there may be multiple scenarios. When you are able to understand the transaction, what they are trying to do, you will be able to understand why the issue is coming. Accordingly, you are going to move forward. Some issues, some incident, whenever you get, will be resolved. by guidance. Most of the incidents will be resolved by guidance or by instructing them on call or on the screen sharing. Sometimes what will happen, certain incidents will be raised which cannot be resolved over the call, which cannot be resolved over the meeting, which requires a certain configuration. Because if your client is aware that okay, this is the problem, he will directly ask you to change the configuration. But we know that some errors when you receive, you will have to make certain configuration changes to solve the problem. When you receive certain error messages, you have to make configuration changes to solve the problem. Now these kind of situations where your incident will be treated, your incident will be converted as a change request. In these situations, you will be converting your incident or your ticket as a change request. What you are going to do, you know that this is the request that you have received from the client, wherein your client is trying to create a advance payment, for example, or your client is trying to create a vendor invoices or customer invoices, wherein from one of the vendors they received an invoice in which the payment term is, let's say, 14 days. Whatever the invoice that your client had received from one of the vendor, it says the payment term is due in 14 days. Now your client is trying to account the invoice, but when they are trying to select the payment term, they are not able to find any payment term which is showing a 14 days due. So your client says that okay, I am trying to record this invoice, however I am not able to find payment term which represents 14 days due. What he will do, he will say that we are trying to account one vendor invoice, however we are not able to find payment term related to 14 days, please advise, or please advise what is the payment term for payment term 14 days, or payment term 14 is missing in the system, something they will tell. When they inform this information, what you will do, by looking at the ticket, by looking at the incident, you will understand okay, this is the ticket, they are trying to create an invoice related to vendor wherein payment term should be 14 days due net. Now you need to understand, is this payment term only due with 0% discount in 14 days, or in 14 days due with any discount? Your user, your client may not be clearly informing. He may be mentioning only 14 days payment term is missing. What you need to do, you cannot just like that come to a conclusion. Either respond to the ticket, or send an email or send a response to the email, or get into a call with the user or get into a meeting with the user. Ask them what exactly they are trying to create, what is the payment term that they are looking for. They say that we are looking for a payment term wherein my vendor invoices is due in 14 days. You will ask them, okay, hold on. You will go to SAP. Now in SAP, you need to know where to check payment terms. You need to know where to check payment term, meaning how your client will check payment term. Your client will go to F-43, F-22, FB60, FB70 or 65, 75, wherever invoice is created or wherever payment term drop down box is there, there your client is going to put F4. It will give a list. From there your client is looking for the payment term. But as a consultant, are we going to look in that way? No. What you need to know, you need to know the transaction code where payment terms are created, point number 1, or point number 2, table where payment terms are stored, either through transaction code of payment term or through the table of payment term. As a consultant, you are going to verify it. Let's say you went either to a transaction or to a table, you took the dump. Now user will see whenever he wants to see, he will go and see it. But as a consultant, when you are looking at the dump, make sure you immediately take a download of it. Make sure you immediately take a download of the payment terms, whatever you see there. And from there, you find out if there is any payment term which is related to 14 days. When you find that there is no payment term, you will tell that, okay, currently there is no payment term, we will create and then confirm. So that currently there is no payment term, it is to be created. I will create a new payment term and then I will confirm. Now you know that the request or the incident is related to invoice posting. While posting the invoice, client is not able to find a particular payment term. You understood the requirement, you understood the request wherein payment term is missing. Now you need to create this payment term. Now we know that to create a payment term, it is not a master data, it is a configuration. It's a simple one-step configuration, OBB8. Now you know that you need to create a payment term. Now in order to create a payment term, you need to create some configuration request. In short, you need to create a change request because you are changing payment term table data. You are changing payment term master table, wherein you are either modifying a record, you are deleting the record, or you are adding the record. In short, configuration is going to be get changed. Now in order to make any configuration changes, either creation, modification, deletion, blocking, locking, whatever, you need to have a change request. Now your user says, I have already given an incident. Now if you have an incident already, you may not be requesting your user to create a change request again. On user behalf, from the incident, you will be creating a change request from your side. From your side, you will be creating a change request. When you create a change request, in the change request, you are going to take the email. Whatever the email that you have received from your client, you will take that email, save that email on your desktop or on your downloads document, wherever. While creating the change request, attach that email in your change request, wherever you are creating any tool that you are creating. Attach this change request email in that request and mention that this is from the incident number so and so. If you are using any ticketing tool, for that ticketing tool, you will find an incident number. You will find an incident number, put that this change request is from the incident number XYZ. Now, once you create the change request, you will get a CR number or you will get a change request number. Once you get the CR number or change request number, what we will do is, with the help of this CR number or change request number, go to incident management now. Come to incident management or come to the ticket. In the ticket, you put that this ticket is converted or a change request 1234 has been created to handle this incident, hence closing this. In the incident or in the ticket, you are going to put this change request, you will close the ticket. Because since this is no longer an issue, you identified that this issue requires a configuration. For configuration, a separate change request is created, and for that change request, you will have to follow the different procedure, different steps will have to be followed for it, and your client will be followed up, or you will be interacting with the client with respect to the change request going forward, not with respect to incident, because this is no longer an incident. You are going to close this incident by updating change request number. Once you close this incident, next thing what you will do, you will have to go to the change request. For example, now let me write change request here. Now I'll put change request, for example, CR 12345, assuming that this is the change request number CR 12345, which is related to new payment term creation 14 days due net, something like this. You are going to put the description for the change request. Now based on the change request, what you need to do, you know that change request is all about configuration change. In order to do the configuration, first of all, you should have a requirement email. You have got a requirement email already. Client had sent an email that this payment term is missing, please give it. You already have received an email or you have a ticket with you. Now based on this, what you will do, you will go to, let me put step number 1. First, what you will do, log into development 100 client. Step number 1, you need to log into development 100 client. When you log into development 100 client, this is your golden client or this is your configuration client. And here you need to do the configuration. Here I'll put maintain the configuration here. Maintain the configuration and save the TR number with the prescribed naming convention. We know that whenever you create any change request, you're talking about configuration. Whenever you're talking about configuration, you're talking about CR number, customizing request number or workbench number. In short, either customizing or workbench is represented as TR number. This TR number will have a logic. According to that logic only, you need to put the TR description. Now what I will do, I may be putting, for example, my TR number may be assuming this is the TR number. I am randomly writing some number, ignore it. Assuming that this is my TR number. So for this TR number, there will be a description. What description are we going to write is, you may be having a naming convention in your client. This is client specific, this is company specific. Depending on the client, depending on the company, the logic that you are using here may be different. So don't fix that this is how it will work in every project. It may be different from client to client, project to project, company to company. So I may say that this I have to put FI. I may have to put FI, something like this. Initially we'll have to put module name. I would say FI. I would say something like payment terms, and you have this CR number. I will put CR number 1 2 3 4 5. I may say that my name. Either I'll put my name or I'll put my employee ID, whatever is there. Now how you are going to put the description for this TR will be clearly instructed by your project manager or your project team member or your project lead. Somebody will tell you this. If you are working in any support project, ask your other consultant, do we have any naming convention for TR? You have to openly ask, you have to confidently ask, because you cannot imagine, you cannot understand how you are going to create it, because these are all client specific. And if you are really working as a consultant, this is what the question you are going to ask day one when you are asked to do any configuration on the system. Do we have any naming convention to be followed? Unless you ask, nobody will tell you. This also you need to remember. Unless and until you ask, the other person is not going to tell you that this is how you are going to create. When you ask, assuming that you got the information, according to the information you have created like this, the TR. Now when you create it, you will get a TR number. TR number you stored it, and a TR description you have given as per the guidelines. Next, after this, what you need to do, you will go to step number 2. Okay, copy the configuration. Copy the configuration from development 100 to development 120. In short, development configuration client to development testing client. You will have two separate client within the development, one for configuration, one for testing. Immediately after doing the configuration, you need to copy the configuration from 100 client to 120 client. You can replace 100 120 with your actual client numbers in your project. Now here what you need to do, log into development 120 and then open T code SCC1, input TR number, okay, and click on execute. I'm not writing in detailed step. You'll have to put a test run, copy the subtask and all. I'm not giving. When you open it, you will understand it. I will show in the system, but first I want you to understand points in a generic way, so that when I open the system, we will not get deviated from Excel to system, system to Excel. Now what we need to do to copy the configuration from development config client to development testing client, you need to log into development testing client, not the development config client. You should always go to target client, not the source client. In this situation, source client is 100, target client is 120. Go to target client, which is 120. In 120, login, put the TR number, and then click on select a subtask, put the test run, click on execute. Make sure there are no errors. Once you ensure that there are no errors, remove the test run, click on execute. When you do it, automatically all the configurations whatever you did will get copied to the development 120 client, which is your testing client. Okay, when you do it, all the configuration will get copied to development 120 client. Now after that, verify the configuration is moved to development 120 successfully, either using T code or table, because you have done a test run, you have done a client copy from development 100 to development 120. When you do the client copy, what is going to happen here? You have created a payment term in development 100. This payment term will be copied automatically in development 120. Whether this happened or not happened, you need to verify. How you are going to verify? You have to verify either using a transaction code related to payment term, or you have to verify using a table related to payment term. Either of these ways you can verify and check whatever the term that you created. For example, you created a payment term called Z014. If your payment term whatever you created is Z014, whatever the 4-digit code that you created, check if it is available in development 120. If it is available, you come to a conclusion that yes, my configuration request is moved to development 120 successfully. Once your configuration is moved, you verified it. Next thing, go to step number 3. What you will do in the step number 3, you have to perform unit testing. In short, this is nothing but UT in development 120 client. Step number 3, as a consultant, perform unit testing in development 120. When you are doing this testing, what you need to do? You need to do a testing. How you are going to test it? You are going to test it by posting an invoice. You should know how to test it also. If you know how to do the configuration, that is not sufficient. You should also know how to test it. How do you test your payment term if it is created newly? You have to test it by creating an invoice of a vendor or of customer and assign this payment term 14, post the vendor invoice, go to the vendor line item report, make sure due date is calculated according to 14 days. Make sure due date is calculated according to 14 days. Once you perform this testing, take the screenshots and prepare a unit testing document. This is nothing but UT document. Basically, we call it as a UT document. Take the screenshots of what you are doing, invoice, take that screenshot, and then vendor line item report, customer line item report, take the screenshot. In the screenshot, make sure you put a layout in such a way payment term is visible and then the due date is also visible. Document date, posting date, payment term, net due date is also visible, which will give you the calculation of 14 days. Make sure these screenshots are clearly placed in your testing document called UT document. After this, you need to make sure now you have tested, you understood that yes, now this is working fine. When it is working fine, you need to prepare a configuration document. You need to prepare a configuration document. What is this configuration document? You did some changes in the system, either addition or modification. Now what we did was addition. You did not modify any existing payment term. Instead, we created a new payment term. It is a new addition, new payment term which we've created. Take the screenshot of your payment term screen. Whatever the T code you have used, go to that screen and highlight the payment term that you have created there. You don't need to click on this, add a new entry and all, not that one. You just need to put a screenshot what is added there. And your screenshot is supposed to contain only the record that you have created. If you are taking the screenshot full screen, you have to identify in the paint or somewhere the record that you have created. When you take that screenshot, put it in the configuration document, save this document. Now your UT document, your configuration document must contain the document header or document file name as. Now this is the file name that I saved with interview. Similarly, when you are saving it, make sure your file name contains CR number in it. Make sure when you are saving it, file name contains a CR number it for easy identification, because you may be working on so many tickets, you may be preparing a lot of documentation. Later on, if you wanted to see which document is prepared for what, you will not be able to understand. While saving the file itself, you need to make sure file name you will save it along with the the CR number. And you'll have to prepare the configuration document. Once configuration document is prepared, send an email to user for UAT. In short, testing. You'll have to send an email to the user for the testing. Now the testing of UAT happens multiple ways depending on the client, depending on the project. In some project, you will have to sit along with the user, conduct the UAT. When I say you will have to sit along with the user, conduct the UAT, what you will do is you will schedule a meeting. A simple meeting invite will be scheduled and you will ask your user to check this payment item now. What user will do on the screen sharing, he will create one invoice and he will post the invoice with the new payment item 14 days. He will go to the vendor line item report, customer line item report. They will verify in the line item report due date is properly getting captured. Okay, or if they are taking any printout related to it, in their printout payment item is getting printed. They will make sure yes, everything is working fine. Based on that, they are going to send an email. This is one way. Second way is nothing but you are going to send a testing document of your UT. You are going to send a UT testing document and you will ask your user to prepare similar document for UAT. You will send a UT document and you will ask your user to prepare a similar document for UAT. What your user will do, he will have the UAT format or you will attach the UAT format. Based on the UAT format, your user will prepare the similar document. He will send an email to you confirming that, dear FICO consultant, we have tested it in developed quality system. It is working as expected. Please move the changes to production. Now, when you do it, here I'll put user will test and send us the confirmation along with the UAT document. Along with the UAT document, user is going to send you an email. Now, based on this email, what you are going to do? But one point here. Now, here what we need to do? We need to get the changes imported to quality system. Here we need to get the changes imported to quality system. How you will get changes imported to quality system? There are two ways here. There are two ways how you will import changes to quality system. Point number one, we have to release the TR from SE09. Okay, as a consultant, you need to release the TR from SE09. Subtask and main task, both you'll have to release. Okay, this is one way. When you do it directly, it will go to quality system in some project. In some project, after releasing this here, we have to send an email to basis consultant will import TR to QAS using STMS underscore import T code. Basis consultant will use this T code and then he will import the changes to quality system and then he will confirm to you over the email that, dear FICO consultant, TR has been imported, kindly check. What you need to do? Same thing. Go to the table or the transaction code in quality system, make sure whatever the payment item that you created is appearing there. If it is appearing, your TR is properly moved. Then you need to send an email to client scheduling for a UAT session. They will perform the UAT, they will send the document. Once you get it, you need to obtain. We need to get the client approval for moving the configuration to production system. What you need the client approval for moving the configuration to production system. How do you know that the client has to approve? Who has to approve it? You will have an approval matrix in every project. You will have the approval matrix. Based on the approval matrix, what you will do, you will move your changes to production system. Now this is one point. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Just give me 1 minute. Alright, sorry. So once you get the approval from the client, what you will do is you will be ready to moving, or you are ready to move the production changes. Now straight away you cannot move the changes to production. After receiving the client approval, we will have to get, we need to get the project lead or manager approval. After getting the client approval, you should also get the project lead approval or project manager approval. Once you get project lead, project manager approval, okay, once you get the approval from your project lead and you will get the approval from the project manager, you are all set to move the changes to the production system. Now, who will move the changes to production system? The changes will be moved to production system by the basis consultant. Changes will be moved to the production system by the basis consultant. Before moving changes to production system, below documentation checklist is mandatory. Before you move any changes to the production system, below documentation checklist is mandatory. What is the checklist? Whatever we have done in the initial, everything has to be documented, everything has to be attached. If you are using any tool, in that particular tool you need to attach all the documentation. If you are not using any tool, in the email you need to send it to the basis consultant, plus there will be a share folder if there is any ticketing tool. If there is no ticketing tool, there will be a share folder. In that share folder, you need to attach all the documentation. Every documentation will be saved with the CR number, either internally created or generated by the system. And in that share folder, what you will do, you will create a folder. Folder contains the CR number. Folder contains the CR number. In that CR number folder, you are going to place all the documentation here. Either ways, whether you are using any ticketing tool or you are not using any ticketing tool, documentation whatever we are going to list out now is mandatory for any configuration change that you do, either a simple payment item creation or any huge complicated configuration, new process that you are doing, the documentation, procedure, whatever is listed here is quite common irrespective of the nature of requirement, whatever you have. First point, what I'll do is requirement email is mandatory. This is your first point. Second point is your approval email. This is applicable in some cases, not applicable in some cases. That I will explain. Approval email from client and project manager. The requirement, whatever you are getting as a change request, must be approved by your client, and at the same time by your project manager or by your project lead. They will have to approve it. Once they do it, you are ready to go forward. This is the first point. And next one is your configuration document is required. Next one, unit testing document is required. Point number 5 is your user acceptance test document. Sometimes if the configuration is related to cross module functionality, you will have to create system integration testing document, and then you will also need email is done, approval is done, config document, unit testing, UAT, integration testing document, and then UAT sign off email is required, and then client approval and project manager approval. Okay, along with all this 8 kind of a documentation, provided you have all this documentation, you are going to send an email to the basis consultant. Now we have listed that changes will be moved to production by basis consultant. Now what basis consultant will do, he will check if all the documentation is available or not. If you are using any ticketing tool, this CR number, whatever the request that you are sending to basis consultant, he will also have the access to change request. That tool, he will go to the tool, he will open that respective CR number, he will verify whether all the email approvals, all the testing documents, configuration document is attached or not. If everything is attached, he will say that TR is imported and he will confirm you over the email. If any documentation is missing from this checklist, your basis consultant will have a checklist, because this is the procedure to be followed in every project by all the project consultants. It is not that I am exception to it, you are exception to it. Irrespective of your module, whether you are a FICO consultant, consultant, SD consultant, this procedure will have to be followed by every consultant strictly, without which no matter what, your TR will not be moved. In that case, you have to take emergency approval from your project manager. In case if you cannot create this documentation due to urgency of the problem, due to urgency of the issue, you will have to move the TR on emergency basis. Emergency basis mean you are going to send an email to your project manager that this TR to be moved to production system immediately to fix or to resolve a high priority ticket, high priority issue. Kindly provide your approval. Documentation will be prepared and attached later on. Considering the email, your project manager will approve, yes, okay to proceed or okay to go ahead, approved. Based on that email approval, basis consultant will move the TR to production without this documentation as an exception. Without this documentation, it will be moved to production as an exception. Once the documentation is attached, that is where you are going to close the CR. Once the documentation is attached, that is where you are going to close the CR. After this, what is going to happen? After moving the changes to PRD system, basis consultant will email to FICO consultant. Okay, after moving the changes, basis consultant will inform or will send an email to FICO consultant stating changes have been moved to production system. Now, the moment you get the confirmation from basis, you are not supposed to immediately respond to the user. First point, what you need to do is, as a FICO consultant, make sure we will verify the configuration is updated in PRD system correctly. Sometimes while releasing the TR, while importing the TR to production, there may be some errors. Sometimes there may be some error due to any reason. So you need to make sure you will verify the change, that everything is moved properly to the production system, and then you are going to send an email to the user. After above verification, send an email to user to check and then confirm. Send an email to user to check and confirm. Once you confirm to the user that payment term is now created, kindly check. What user is going to do? User will post the document successfully and confirms in the email that invoice is posted. Whatever the issue that he raised for, he will post the invoice in the production system, because now payment term is created, it is available. Once it is created, entry is posted, he will confirm the email that yes, it is now working. Based on that email, based on this email, whatever you get, and again save the email, attach it in the change request, and then close the CR. This is how you will close the CR. And once your CR is closed, if you get any further issues, you can reopen the CR, point number 1. If it is immediately after a couple of days your client is telling no, this is not working as expected, you will be reopening a CR. Or if it is after a specific time, maybe after a week or after 2-3 weeks, what you will do, you will not reopen the CR. Instead, you will raise another CR, you will create a new CR number. Okay, so this is all about your change request process that you will have to understand. First, I want you to go through the points whatever I have listed here, and if you go through these points, if you are able to understand what is happening in any project, in any tool, you will be able to easily understand the CR process. You can easily manage it, provided you have the generic understanding of whatever we have discussed now. This is the base point with which you can handle in any project, and you can work on any change request. Okay, any question, Vinod?
So, to do unit test, we need data, right? Like BP invoices. How we will have this data?
This depends on what configuration you have done. In our example, we did configuration related to payment term, correct? To
Yeah.
test payment term, all you need is a vendor. You will pick any one vendor, you will pick any customer, you will post for any amount, because to do this testing, all you need to do is you need to make sure one invoice is posted either for a customer or for a vendor. Make sure due date is calculated according to new payment term. You can post
Okay.
in any customer invoice, in any vendor invoice, so that is not a problem in this case.
So, if for the reporting also we need many vendor, many BP or many invoices. That time also we can use any older data, right?
You can use any older data, but your client is not going to do it, right? Because whatever the testing that you are doing, you are going to prepare a document. When you prepare a document, if you are testing it today, ideally your testing document should represent today's date. If you are taking
Yeah.
the older document, it may be last month, previous month invoice, then your testing document will give misrepresentation. You got my point, right? That way also you can do it, but that is not recommended. From our side as a consultant, to do it quickly, you can do it. That is kind of your, the fast mode testing. But to document it, that is not the right way.
Okay. And document. Okay. One more thing, sir. If we once we release the TR for the development unit test and quality, so can we use same TR? Means
Once
no need to release it again and again for all the server, right?
No. TR is released only one time. One time you are going to export from the development. Once it is exported from development, it is no longer export. It is called as import. In quality, you will import the TR. In production, you will import the TR, which is exported from development.
Okay. If I by mistakenly release another tier, can we? Uh,
You cannot revert once a TR is released from development to quality. It cannot be reverted. You need to create another TR with whatever the changes that you need to make. It will be two TRs. To avoid this, what we will do the unit testing in development. When you do the unit testing in development, we need to understand what is the exact requirement just to avoid these kind of problems. Reason, in some project, in some client, if there is a requirement and you will be allowed to create changes in a single TR. Assuming that you did the changes, you moved to quality. In quality, you found that it is not working as expected. Once a TR is released to quality, you cannot use that TR, correct? You have to create another TR. When you're creating or when you're requesting for another TR, you may get a question, why two TRs are used for this request? Meaning there is a change in the configuration. Then we may have to give the justification if in case asked. So if you say that, we found some defect in the quality system, how come this defect was not found in the development system? Valid question to be asked.
yes, definitely they will ask.
Right? So that is the reason when we are doing any testing in the development, it is mandatory that you are going to test like a user. Test like a user, I mean to say, whatever user is going to do it, you have to do it. That is the reason you have something called UT document here. That's the only reason you have document here, wherein you cannot say I have done high level testing. You have to do ground level testing, no high level testing. And because you'll have to prepare a document, put the screenshots, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Clear?
Sir, why we have to send configuration and unit test document to ABAP? They need only approval, right? They have nothing to do
To
with
whom?
them. With ABAP, this basis team.
It's part of their activity before they release any TR. It is their checklist to make sure documentation is attached. Without this documentation, basis consultant is not allowed to move any TR. If any TR is moved when there is no documentation, he will be questioned, how did you move the TR when there is no configuration document? It is his failure, which means he did not do his job thoroughly. He will move the TR, but he will need special approval from your manager asking that the documentation is missing. Still, you want to get this TR moved. Otherwise, he will
Okay.
not be moving. In any project, they will not move it. They'll have a checklist.
Okay. Okay. So thank you.
Yeah. Fortune.
Thanks, Ajay. Wanted to find out, is the solution manager process different from the one that you just explained? And
It is the similar because the process depending on the tool will have slight changes. But whatever we have explained now, with this you will be able to work in any tool.
Okay.
Okay, because this is the standard procedure which is followed by any FICO consultant in any project, irrespective of the tool that we are using.
Okay. All right.
So that is the reason I have not mentioned, I'm not talking about any tool name specifically to avoid confusion. Because if I name any one tool, one may understand, okay, fine, but one may get an additional doubt. If the tool is different, what will happen? So I'm writing the points in such a way that if you tell this point, anybody that you talk to will approve it, because this is what you are going to do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Venkat?
Ajay, releasing TR from development to quality and importing to quality, both are same, different means. If we release
It
the
is the
TR from
same. It is
development
the
to
same.
quality, yeah,
Only
you
go ahead. Go ahead. Complete your
can,
statement.
yeah. If we release TR will be moved to quality, there won't be any TR in the development.
If you
And
move
if we
from development, if you release it here in development, it will be in the queue of quality system. In the quality,
yes,
you need to go and import it, for which you will have to open stms underscore import transaction, and then you need to select your TR, click on import. It will
okay,
not
for
directly
both,
reflect in the quality.
okay, for both the things, importing needs to be done.
Correct. In quality, in
In
production, you need to import it. You will
yes,
export from development, you will import in quality, you will import in production. In quality,
so
in some project, FICO consultant will import. In some project, basis only will import.
okay, only importing in quality system doesn't make any sense, right?
Sorry,
Means
repeat.
only importing in quality doesn't make any sense, right? First, we need to export from development, and then
Correct.
we need to import in quality.
You're right.
Yes, and the thing is, next from quality to production, is there any new tier going to create in quality?
No TR, the same TR. It is like a
Same.
sequencing. It's like a sequencing, like if the TR is imported in quality, only then it can be imported in production.
Okay. Same process. Development to
Yeah,
quality,
it is a
quality to.
sequence. Correct.
So tier is moving from quality to the production, not from development to production. I
No.
mean,
From
is
development
that
only.
right?
If you release it in
Yeah.
development, it can be
Yeah.
imported in quality and production. So as
Okay.
part of the sequencing, you will first import in quality, make sure your testing is completed, then only you will import in production. Straight away, we will never do it in production.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Clear.
Okay. Yeah. Manjunath,
Oh, yes, sir. Sir, is this mandatory to send all documentation through mail?
if there is no ticketing tool, not required. If there is a, sorry, if there is a ticketing tool, not required. If there is no ticketing tool, yes, you will have to attach all the documentation to the basis.
Okay, in this case, even for small configurations also, it will take more than 1 day or 2 days, no, to get all the approvals from
Yes,
authorization persons.
because this is the guidelines that every consultant will have to follow. Even if you do 5-minute activity, to complete this 5-minute activity, we may have to sit and work for an additional 2 to 3 hours only for the documentation purpose. And unless and until you complete this documentation, your TR will not be imported to production. In case if you want to import any TR in production without this documentation, you will have to get special exception approval from your project manager. Otherwise, basis guy will never move it, because he will be at a risk without the documentation if it is moved. Reason, later on, we are all aware that there is something called auditing. At the end of the year, you will have usual audit, financial audit.
Okay.
Right? In the
But
financial
sometimes
audit,
the
what the,
client may not available or project manager might have engaged in some other
it will have
activities.
to wait. No other go. You have to reach them on the mobile. Everybody will have the mobile, right? Outlook.
Yeah, okay.
You require it, because why we need all this procedure is, normally in accounting you have something called yearly audit, right? When the external auditor is
Okay,
coming, he will verify any accounting document. He want you to show the full documentation,
okay, sir.
right? Similarly, there is something called a system audit. When you're talking about system
Okay.
audit from the external, there are,
Good morning, Zain. How are you? Hope you're feeling much
Hussein.
better now.
Oh, yes.
Hussein, can you go on mute?
Hey, conversation wala.
Thank
So
you.
whenever the
Congratulations.
system audit is going on, the auditor will come and he will pick any one change request randomly. When I say, for
Okay.
example, your system auditing is going on, The auditor has picked that this CR number,
Thanks.
but the auditor has
From
picked.
Google.
I think who's this?
If you save it as a picture, then you can
I
assign
thought
it as your
it should be from one of our employee meetings.
That would be neat if it was
Yeah.
our own answers. Yeah.
Can you go on mute, Hussein? Yeah. Assume that once if the external auditor related to systems audit has identified.
My office is on one part of it, so I need to
Hussein,
hide
where
the
is this
chaos
Hussein?
going on back there.
Yeah, winter is a good time for basement projects.
Okay.
Okay,
Assuming
sir,
that
we
the
will.
auditor had requested for, auditor had asked for the documentation related to this year. Now the auditor will not ask the functional consultant. Auditor will always ask the basis consultant, because basis is the guy who imported this change to production. Correct? Now basis guy will have to show all the documentation. He will say that, okay, this is the email request, this is the approval, these are all the documentation checklist that is part of our procedure. If anything is missing, if anything is not there, if any approval is not there, they will ask for the justification why this request is moved to production without the documentation. If there is any exception approval, what is the exception approval? What is that emergency where you had to move it without the documentation? That is the reason this becomes very sensitive for any organization in any project, for any consultant to maintain this mandatory.
Okay, fine, sir. Sir, we will do the testing in development. Then finally, it will goes to production system. If there are any inconsistency in the same configuration, then again we need to do the same configurations in the development.
There will not be such a scenario. If there is any inconsistency, yes, we'll have to do the configuration again.
But what about the data, sir? Whatever we will use for testing, no, that the data will remain stored in the development.
Yeah,
So
data will
whatever
not be
we have used
transported.
for the testing.
Data will not be transported. Only the settings will be transported. Master data, transaction data, report will not move from one client to another. They remain in the same client. They cannot be moved.
Okay, for example, we have selected XYZ vendor for to check the payment terms, and then we will post a document for XYZ vendor. The same data will stored in the development only. So is there any time period for that, or like production system they are having data? No.
No. It will be stored in the development only. It will not go to any other system. Normally, what we will do, we will replicate data from production to quality and development, maybe on a half yearly basis, quarterly basis, to make sure that whenever you are testing in development, you usually need the similar rate of production, right, to replicate it. For that,
Okay,
we
but
will usually copy the.
we can see no if any if so whatever we have used the vendor, that document date and all we can see no if there are any inconsistency in production
Yeah,
system.
you can see it in development.
Okay.
Whatever you tested, you wanted to see it in production system.
Okay, if any changes again any changes it is required from for the same configuration, then we will see in the development no whatever we have done with the testing.
You can do it, you can check it, but your question is not correct, I would say.
Okay,
When
sir.
you refer this again, you will have a clarity. I will revise it once
Okay.
again in the next session, then you will have a clarity. You have some
Oh,
confusion when you go through this recording again, that gets automatically
okay.
clarified.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fortune.
Thanks, Ajay. I wanted to find out, you mentioned that the transport release. So assuming I'm doing the baseline configuration and I'm actually on the last step to 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 do the consistency check, and I find out that there's something I need to correct, or a profit center, or something. Am I able to set back the TR into QA? Actually, let me say, do I release the transport header or I release a task?
You mean to say you want to change the description of the TR?
No. So I'm saying I have a TR, let's
All
say
right.
B28, and B28, I'm using that transport to set my baseline configuration. So
Okay.
when I move the changes from dev to QA for testing, do
Okay.
I move do I move the transport header, or I move the task of the transport?
Header. Task will be moved first, so that a task
Uh-huh.
is included in the header. Then you will be moving the header only, not the task. Now this
Not
is
that
your
so
header. Yeah, header is your 24 ending with, correct?
yes, that's right.
Task will be 25, next number.
Yes,
So
that's
first
right.
you will release 25, 25 will be included in 24, then everywhere you will be representing 24 only, because 24 contains subtask 25.
Yes. Okay, all right.
But for your question, you're talking about a baseline configuration. Baseline configuration will come into picture in your implementation project. For implementation project, change request is not applicable. Change request is valid only after your project go live, meaning after your hypercare support. When you're on the production support, that is where change request will come into picture. In the implementation project, there is no concept of change request. Whatever the config you will do, those are all part of your project configurations. No CR number, no CR concept in the implementation. CR concept will come into picture after your project is handed over to the support team. In short, when you officially start production support, at that time only your CR will come into picture, not during the implementation.
Okay. So all the RISEF elements during project, they are not
Will
they're
not
not
have any CR. They
any
do not
CR.
have any CR. No.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Yeah. Nagavena,
Hello, Ajay. I just want to know whether all the companies maintain the sandbox in the development center.
sandbox is completely optional. Whenever
Oh,
you're talking about the system landscape, keep only 3 points: development, quality, production. Apart from development, quality, production, if somebody is using sandbox, sandbox is nowhere connected to development, quality, production. Your connection is always between development, quality, production. Anything that you do in sandbox is only for the experiment purpose. When I say experiment purpose, for example, your client is already using SAP. Now they wanted to work or they wanted to implement a new functionality, quite common.
yeah.
Now if they wanted to implement or if they wanted to work on a new functionality, now you're also not sure how this functionality works, whether this is suitable for your client or not. You're not aware. What you will do, you have to do some kind of R&D on it. You'll
Yes.
have to test different things. Now the development system is not something where you can do experiment. For all this kind of experiment, what you will do, you will have another client called sandbox. The sandbox contains the exact data of your production. The basis guy will copy the data from production into the sandbox system. Now your sandbox is having a copy of production data. Clear?
Yes. Okay.
Now in the sandbox, what you are going to do, you will do the configuration related to that particular new functionality. Your sandbox, whatever the config that you are doing, you are going to save it in a dummy TR. From your sandbox, TR will not go to anywhere. It will stay there only. Once you test it, once you experiment, once you find out, yes, this is how it is working, this is meeting the client requirement. After the thorough experiment, you will come to know what settings are made.
Yes.
Those settings you will log into development system. You will do it in a sequential way. You will prepare the documentation as usual. Sandbox is as simple as like your practice server, but with the same client production data that is nowhere connected to your landscape anywhere.
So then it will be maintained as a different client only. It is not connected with any development or anything like that.
No. It will not go anywhere. From there, nothing will be moved to anywhere. It will stay there only, because that is your experimental client basically.
Okay. So the golden client means the development client is called as a golden client and
Huh.
sandbox is different. Okay.
Correct. Golden client or development 100, wherever you do the configuration, is either called as a development or is called as a your golden client. One and the same.
So we can say that if you are not if in any of the project if we are not fully involved in the implementation, we can talk as we are involved in the sandbox, something like that.
You can do it. Yeah, you can say it, but not in the implementation project. But in such case, you'll have to talk about you are part of in-house project.
Okay.
When you're talking about in-house project, normally when you take any service-based company like any Wipro, Deloitte, all these kind of companies, what they will do in the market, SAP will release new functionalities, or when you know that these are all the common requirements from the clients, what they will do, they wanted to have a ready-made solution.
Yes.
So for this ready-made solution, they will have the in-house sandbox system. That company will have in-house sandbox system in which you are going to take different scenarios. You are going to work on it. If this is the requirement, this is what the solution. If this report is required, this is how this report is developed. The tailor-made solutions or custom-made solutions are ready-madely available. Basically, the people who are currently not on the project, basically who are on the bench and all, will be assigned to the in-house project. They will be working on these kind of requirements which are coming from the various clients, so that one client requirement may be similar to the other client. If you get a solution for it, you can sell this solution to the other client.
Yeah.
For these kind of things, you can say you are part of in-house project.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Nas?
Yeah, Ajay, I have a doubt among the term that used for the TR. Is releasing TR, importing TR, or copying TR, it refers to the same thing, or there's a difference among them?
It is the same thing. Whenever you're talking about releasing the TR, basically
Hmm.
we are talking about development system.
So you're releasing from the development to production?
No, you will release from development only. If you're
Hmm.
releasing the TR from development, you call it as releasing the TR or exporting the TR. Okay.
Okay.
Only when you release the TR in development, you can import it in quality system. In quality, you don't call it as release. In quality, you always call it as importing of a TR.
Okay. So,
Even in
like,
production, you will call it
okay,
as importing of a TR. Quality production, you will use import term. Development, you will use releasing term.
editing time. Okay. And copying is the same thing as
Copying is within development from configuration client to the testing client. As you know, in the development, you have two client numbers, right? One for
yeah,
configuration, one for testing. And you
testing,
will
unit
copy the
testing.
setting from config client to testing client.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Now I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Arya?
Ajay, I want to know, like you showed now the process for the standard process for the CR. If the customize is coming in picture, I'm little bit confused for the test cases and unit testing.
That I'll
Of
show
the
in the next session with respect
okay,
to one of the rise of object. This is related to our functional side where you are not dependent on any technical. So in case of
okay.
any customization that we will see in the tomorrow's session.
And
If you
can
are
you
working on any
explain?
rise of
Okay,
object, that I'll explain in the tomorrow's session with a different example where you need to work with a app, how you will be working on it, how you are creating a test case and all. Basically, that is applicable in case of a rise of object.
okay. Can you mention like if the FIMM integration, how you managing with the other teams? If you take
It
that
is
kind of
the same thing, but here there will be additional testing called, somewhere I would have written integration testing, system integration testing. Apart from that, there is no other thing. From our side, this is the same configuration. Wherever there is no involvement of ABAP, this is the same sequence which is followed in any situation. In case if there is a ABAP involvement, at that time there are certain few changes which we will see in the next class.
okay. And can you sure give us like format for the UT document and test cases and
Yeah,
config
same thing.
doc?
I will prepare a document in the
Huh.
system. I will create the configuration. I will do the testing, documentation, everything I'll do. For the same example, I'll do it in the sample documentation so that whatever is listed here, I'll do it practically in the SAP.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajay.
Yeah.
Sir, is it possible to test environment in, I mean, present our testing environment, this TR
No,
release and
not
everything? No, not
not
possible.
possible. Or like I can show you, but it works exactly the same way, but we cannot practically do it because we do not have the landscape developed here.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank
Okay, yeah, Tunde.
Thank you, Ajay. I have two questions. Well, yeah, I have two questions. Would you recommend that whenever you are on a new company or a new project and they don't have a sandbox, even if they do have a sandbox, would you recommend that maybe we should get our own sandbox and kind of duplicate their configuration and try to do the experiments there?
You can do it, but whatever you're replicating there, you should make sure that you're not using the same names.
Same what?
For example, you're working for a client, assuming that you're working for BMW client, and
Okay.
your BMW does not have the sandbox. Now you want to replicate a certain scenarios where you cannot do it in development because you are not sure whether it works or not. Is that what your point?
Yes.
So in this situation, what you can do is you will get the server from outside, like whatever we are using, the test server, you will get it, and you will create a scenario similar to your current company, but with a different name.
Okay.
Like if it is company code 1000, you may be creating ABCD. The content will be the same, logic will be the same, but you're not straight away using the same content because if somebody sees it later on, it may not be good. So these are all the servers which you are using, and then even if your client or somebody is looking at it, then they may take it in a wrong way. So it's always better that this is not your data. Even if they see it, nothing related to their names, right?
Right.
Because usually what we do, we try to copy from the client system, we try to put it in the test server. Though you
Yes.
do it, but you'll have to do it with a different naming convention, like slight modifications, wherein only you will be able to understand why you are creating that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, and then the other question I have is I do apologize. I've not been keeping up with the group. I have a interview today, so I've been prepping all weekend and week. But I just saw the Excel sheet you sent, and
Okay.
I kind of noticed that it's not online. It's downloadable. So if I fill in all these emails, how do I know somebody else has not used the same emails?
No, that one who is working on is Fortune is working, I guess, not for somebody is working on it. I'll
Yes,
tell that
yes, AJ.
I'll tell that person to reach out to you. He'll explain Tunde.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
I filled out the emails, and I noticed that some names are missing. And also in my group, there are some people that I don't know if they've paid in full. It's blank. There's no. I don't know how to
No,
reach out
I'm
to
yet
them
to
because.
review it. Once that file is consolidated, then I'll sit and review it. Then we will finalize it. Means I'll discuss with everybody on the session, and then we will proceed with it. So now we are
And
only at the data consolidation part. Probably we will figure it out in a day or two. All these things will be sorted out.
okay, so just basically fill out the column G, which is the emails, and send it to who do I send it to?
Correct. Yes.
Who do I send the Excel sheet to? You or
No, no, to
because
Tapiwa.
to who?
You send it to Fortune to me.
To
Okay,
Fortune you send it. Yeah.
Yes, it's Fortune. Yeah.
okay, for sure. I'll send it to you.
All
Okay.
right, Tunde.
All,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
don't even
Fine
see your
then.
name on
So
my list. Fortunately,
sorry.
I don't see your name on my list on group two. Does it matter?
So,
Uh,
All right, fine then. So I'm
user
running late
number.
for the other
So,
session. I'll take the further questions in the
sir,
tomorrow's session. Okay. Tomorrow also we will be connecting a little early. And tomorrow what I'll do, if you whoever raised hands today where I could not answer, I will answer tomorrow before starting the session. Then I'll start the class tomorrow. I'm running late for the other session now.
user
Okay.
username
Fortune, reach out
change
to me. Reach out to me, Fortune. Just reach out to me.
176.
okay, I'll reach out to you.
Fine then. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Ajay.
Yeah. Yeah.